What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So, of course, going into this game, we knew we were going to be top of the group, barring some crazy blowout on the other side, and then we lose this one. So, pretty good chance that no matter what happens, we're going to be first in the group. So, yeah, we're going to start some more second string, possibly third string players, a couple of youngsters. So, yeah, going into this, I knew it wasn't going to be probably a fantastic game. Maybe I was hoping for a win at least. So to get the draw is not like the most disappointing thing in the world. I think if we had lost, that probably would have been actually kind of disappointing. But draw not too bad considering the players we had out there. Um, I would have liked to have won after all of this, but it is what it is. The one thing I will say though, the most frustrating thing to watch today, and again, it comes down to it's not like we were fantastic. We didn't play poorly overall, but we weren't great today. And what makes that more frustrating is when the referee starts gifting the other team. So whenever every single time we're going up for a header or whenever it looks like we have a chance to break and all of a sudden he's just giving these soft fouls for absolutely nothing, that gets real frustrating. And it started to happen second and a half. Like Aspilicueta got a yellow card for jumping up with his arms out, and the guy running from behind him where he can't see gets hit with his elbow, and that's suddenly a foul and a yellow card. Giroud and Abraham got penalized for jumping up in the air, and then the player jumps into their arm and falls over crying like a little baby, and suddenly that's a foul for us or against us, and now they're out of danger. Like that's frustrating. It's really frustrating when the referee is doing that. And two times today, the referee forgot his rule book because the rule is, I think personally, this is a dumb rule. I've always been of the opinion of the referee is an obstacle on the field. If you hit him, that's your fault. You're supposed to miss him. Now, yes, sometimes the referee does get in the way, and there are some dumb refs that get too involved in the play, and then they're in the way. So I get why some people want this rule installed. But there's a rule now where if you kick the ball, it hits the referee, and it changes possession, blow the whistle, drop ball, give it back to the team who had it before it hit the referee. The rule is not if it hits the referee, it's a drop ball. So when twice the ball hits the referee and then we start to break off of that, even though it was already our possession, and he blows the whistle and gives us the ball back, that's kind of annoying. Because one time it happened where basically Kovacic was going to get the ball. The ball was played toward Kovacic, he was going to get it, but then it hits the referee, falls at Kovacic's feet, and then Kovacic starts to break. He was going to get the ball anyway, even if it doesn't hit the referee. And then the referee pulls it back. Or then second half, it falls right to Enjorin. He was going to get the ball anyway. The ball is being passed toward him, and then it bounces off the referee and falls at his feet, and then he starts breaking into the box, and then the referee pulls it back and says, no, drop ball here. That's not what the rule is. Oh my god. I've said this multiple times, and I haven't said it on my reviews, but I've said this on social media platforms before. The VAR is not the problem. Adding VAR is not the problem. A lot of people are complaining about it. A lot of fans want it removed. Some fans are saying, oh, it's ruining football. No, the VAR is not the problem. It's the fucking referees that are the problem. The referees are bad, and they're getting worse. And the rules are also getting more and more convoluted to the point where some referees just don't know. Like, for instance, on this, the rule is if it changes possession, then you pull it back. But this dumbass referee doesn't know that, and so he thinks, oh, if it hits me, I just got to pull it back. That's not what the rule is. So referees they've got to educate the referees more, and they've got to make the rules a lot more clear cut so that way the referees can't be dumb and make dumb decisions. Because there are a lot of instances where that's what happens. They just don't get the rule, and then they make dumb calls because they don't get the rule. So, anyways, yeah, I was a little frustrated because I'm already. Again, we didn't play poorly, so it's not like I'm in a terrible mood. But I am frustrated because we're not really playing our best, and I feel like there are a couple performances today that weren't very stirring, and I'm a little frustrated with that. And so then all of a sudden the referee starts giving Krasnodar these soft fouls, and he starts cutting off our attacks for whatever reason, a rule that it doesn't even exist. Yeah, it's just frustrating. Anyways, from Lampard's point of view, I got to draw attention to the subs again because why are they so late in the game? I understand you're trying to get some of these players some time, but at the same time, you've got 2,000 fans in the stands. They want something entertaining. And I'll admit, second half was not that entertaining from our point of view. I mean, it was slow. It was kind of boring build-up play. The one chance we got before the subs came on came from their defense's mistake. But we were not doing anything that was creating chances. Krasnodar had the better chances. They looked the better team second half. And it took until the 70th minute before Lampard looked to make a change. That's too long. Because at this point, it's not about winning the game. It's just about being entertaining, giving the fans something to watch. And the energy levels dropped second half. So put on some legs, get your energetic players out there so that way we can look more energized. We can look more entertaining to watch. Because again, this game we don't have to win. So make it fun. Make it fun for us. Getting to see two teenagers play, that's fun. But when that funness of seeing them play wears off into the second half and now it's kind of slow and it's dull and it's boring, make the change. It should have been at 60, honestly. And I'll go ahead and say who he brought on and who he brought off, not great. I was kind of interested to see how having all three of our strikers up top would do. But it was like so late in the game, it just felt like nothing really changed. And on top of that, you take off you had two midfielders who were playing pretty well today. One played great first half and then started dropping off second half. And then the other one was just consistently playing well throughout. And then the third one was Jorginho. And yet you take off Kovacic. And you brought on Conte, which is not necessarily a bad option, but Mason Mount is that player that provides the energy in the midfield, and that's where we were losing a lot of our battles, was in the midfield second half. And it just came down to the fact that, again, Jorginho is Jorginho. He's just not good. Kovacic was still involved, but not really as much defensively. And then Gilmore started dropping off second half because he's young and he's still getting his legs back. And he worked his butt off first half. So I have no problems with him dropping off second half. So you get on, if you want to get on Conte, that's fine, but get on Mount too. Give him a chance to run our midfield again because that's what he brings. So the fact that didn't happen, and then you bring on the three strikers, it's like, yeah, you've brought on more talent up top, but we're not fixing the problem that we're having in the midfield right now, which is just we're losing out on the battles there. We're not really, it took, our strikers had to start working back a bit more to help out. That's where we started winning the battle a bit more. But even then, we still weren't creating that many chances because now our strikers have had to drop back to help out. Well, now they're not up top to receive the ball. So, I don't know. I just felt like Lampard didn't really, again, with the subs, he didn't really change the game in our favor. It just more, I don't know, like, it was more energy, slightly, but they brought on legs too, so they were more energized, and they had a bit more going for them. So it just kind of balanced itself out to where, again, we were not creating that many chances, but also they weren't as well. So it was even more dull from both sides, I think. So I don't know, just a little frustrating there. But as far as the individual performances go, Kepa got a chance to start, which is how you know this game was just a complete wash. Because, yeah, we're giving Kepa a chance to play. 2 shots on target, 1 goal. Kepa for you in a nutshell. And again, like, the shots that are coming in are not anything fantastic. The one that got the little bouncing ball to the far post that he makes a save. Honestly, I don't even know if that was on target. It looked like it might have been going wide. But the one in the first half, I mean, just move your feet. But again, he's here, and then shot's about to be taken. He steps this way for some reason, and then it's that way. Why are you going that way? Because you've got somebody covering that far post. Christensen was here, somebody was covering the far post. His only chance was to cut inside and then cut it back to the near post. And yet, for some reason, you're here and then falling down, nowhere near it. I'm just like, watching him play is so frustrating sometimes. To think that we spent $70 million on him is ridiculous. But this is why we got Mendy, and Mendy's been playing well. So, you know what? He got a chance to show what he could do, and he's not shown anything different. So, there we go. The back line overall wasn't too bad. Espilicueta, we know he's not great up top, but today especially, we needed more from him. You know, his crosses just weren't great. His passing was his link-up play was okay. But yeah, we just needed a bit more from him because we definitely look to go out wide a lot more. And he's one of the players that we're going to. And he's just, I don't know. We know that that's not his game. But defensively, you know, he did what he always does. Works hard, tracks back well, good man marking. Emerson on the other side, I do expect more from him there. And his crosses today just were not good. They're just sort of dumped into nobody. Never really found a target for the most part. Like, he put in several crosses, and I think maybe 2 of them connected with the target. So that's got to be better, because that's the reason you're on the field, is because we know you're a decent attacking player. And honestly, he did look pretty good at times. There were moments when he picked up the ball, and he moved the ball very well. He was linking up with Jorginho very well. So there were moments when I felt like he was playing pretty well. But then when we got to that final ball, the crossing just has to be a lot better. From Dave, I expect it to be kind of eh. From Emerson, it should be good, because that's what you're... The reason why we brought Chilwell in is not because Emerson wasn't good at the attack side of things. It was because he wasn't as good defensively. So when you're not giving us anything in the attack, when you're not providing that good finishing cross, now you're not even doing what you're out there for. So I feel like that was a pretty big disappointment today, was watching his crossing just come to nothing. And honestly, most of his attack in the final third just came to nothing. His best play came in the middle of the field whenever he was picking off balls and he was moving the ball quickly, you know, quick little 1-2 passes. That was his best play today. So a little disappointing there. Defensively, kind of the same as what I'm expecting from him, you know, just getting caught out a few too many times, balls getting played over the top, and he's just not reading it. And then there are several moments, I've started to notice this as well. There are several moments where a ball gets played out wide in our defensive third, and he's a little slow to go close down the cross. So something else for him to work on. As far as the center two, Rudiger and Christensen, honestly, didn't have really much of a problem from them. You know, we had a lot of moments where we looked defensively weak, but they weren't the problem, in my opinion. The problem came from who was in front of them, Jorginho, because honestly, they were both there. They were in their position. They were marking They were marking the men in there pretty well. And honestly, Christensen, that's one thing I've had an issue with him before, is just oftentimes he'll lose track of runners, but they were both doing that pretty well today. The problem and the reason why we gave up so many pretty good-looking opportunities and why Krasnodar had some very good build-up play is because when they started playing in front of our defense, and that where the holding defensive mid should be. You know, it's where Conte normally is there, and he's breaking up that play, and he's not letting them play through there. But Jorginho wasn't really giving us that, like he normally doesn't. Hello? Why isn't Gilmore there? So yeah, it's just really frustrating from that aspect, because I feel like these are two younger defenders, you know, for defenders' age, they're pretty young. And I feel like they can both still grow. They still have room to grow. They're still, I think, learning at this point in their defensive careers. So to have them come under so much pressure because your midfield in front of them are not working defensively, it's frustrating. You know, so I don't know. I'm a little disappointed because I feel like both of them played well, but I feel like they're going to come under some criticism because we were cut open so many times when really it's not even their fault. But yeah, when it comes down to it, I mean, moving into the midfield, Jorginho doesn't cut it still. And it's something I've said for a while. He got by okay in the Sevilla game. Not today, though. Today, against a weaker opponent, for some reason, he just... he got shown up. Passing, what did he do? Connected a few passes here and there? But he's no pass master. At one point, the announcer called him like the one who pulls the strings in the midfield. I'm like, no, he doesn't. I know that's what everybody claims he does, but he doesn't. He doesn't do that. Too many times he gets caught on the ball. Too many times his passes don't go to anybody. Too many times his passes are backwards or sideways. Too many times it's one too many touches before he makes the pass. Defensively, I don't know how many times I got to say it. He's too slow. He's not strong enough. He doesn't read the play well enough. It's just, when you give away the ball at midfield and create a 3-on-3, and Gilmore is the first one back to make it a 4-on-3 and slow down the play, when you're the one that gave it up, the 19-year-old is working harder than you are at that point. I don't see a need for him anymore. The one reason why we had him, well, is passing in the midfield. He links the play real well. Gilmore does it better. He does it far better, and he's more defensively solid than Jorginho is, despite being smaller. That's what I don't understand. I mean, Conte is the same way. He's small, but also Conte just has so much pace and strength that, yeah, of course he's going to beat up on everybody because he's just quicker than him, and he can put himself in a good position. Gilmore, he's not that fast. He's not that strong, but you know what? His work, he's smart about his size. He knows how to use his size to his advantage, and he just sort of sneaks in there. He's not fast, but he's quick. So you've got the 19-year-old who links up the play better than Jorginho does, but also provides more defensive cover than Jorginho does, and yet for some reason we still use Jorginho there. And again, I've talked about this before. When Conte comes on, where does he go? He goes further up the field. Why? You need more defensive cover. Why are you moving the best defensive midfielder on the field in the world up the pitch? It makes no sense, and yet it continues to happen. I don't get it. Because, like, with Fabregas, Fabregas was a different type of player, but his passing was so good, I didn't care that defensively he was a little weak. His passing was incredible. It was phenomenal. Like, every single game, he's creating 3 or 4 chances because his ball's over the top and his passing is just so on point. With Jorginho, he does that once every 5 games. There's no comparison. So why is he out there? Why do we still... maybe there's some interest in him for January. Maybe that's why Lampard has given him time, because he's like, hey, let's try to raise his stock a little bit so we can get some money for him in January. But in my opinion, now that Gilmore is back, I don't see a need for Jorginho anymore. Because you've got Mount, you've got Kovacic, and you've got Havertz that can play in the 2 in front, and now you've got Conte who can sit there and be the defensive block, or you've got Gilmore who can sit there and be a better link-up play than Jorginho. So, get him out. That was my little Jorginho rant. Sorry it took so long, but watching him play today just made me more frustrated because I'm watching Gilmore, which I'll go ahead and talk about him. Fantastic first half. I mean, my lord. You would assume that he never got injured because he just came back with a fire. I mean, he was all over the pitch. He was looking to pick up the ball. His passes are so crisp, and they find their target more often than not. Like, I mean, he looks to make stuff happen. And further up the field, like, in the final third, kind of similar to Kovacic, like, it feels like he doesn't really have that kind of killer pass on lock yet. But when he picked it up deep, I mean, there are several moments where his play was positive. He picks it up and he looks to play it up to somebody, whereas Jorginho most of the time looks just pass it sideways or pass it back. Gilmore, if his passes are across, they are across and forward. They're at a diagonal, so that way they can run onto it. Because I'm blown away that he's only 19 and he just looks to make the play happen. He looks to make things happen. I mean, it's so quick, too. Quick on the turn, and then boom. Pass is gone, and we're flying forward. So, fantastic first half from him. And like I said, second half he dropped off a little bit, but that's I mean, when he worked as hard as he did in the first half, I'm not surprised that he dropped off a little bit in the second half. But yeah, Kovacic on the other side played pretty well. Was a little disappointed with him. There were a couple times defensively that I felt like most of the time he's reading that better, and most of the time he's working a bit harder for us defensively. So I was a little disappointed there, but for the most part, he's just consistent Kovacic as always. And in the final third, again, not great, but that's not what he's done well for us in the past. So I don't know if he's working to get better there. He did take a few shots today, which is not something he normally does, but also he showed why he normally doesn't take shots. Over the goal, way wide. Yeah, definitely something he's got to improve on, because he does find himself in those positions a lot, but he never really finds a pass or a good shot out of it. It's just sort of he's there, and then the chance is gone because he's either blasted it wide or his touch took him too far or he's got to play it backwards. So yeah, I want him to get that side of his game to be better because I do feel like he comes under a lot of criticism for that. And while I appreciate all of the work he does, that side of his game does need to come along because, I mean, we need that out of him. We need more from him in the final third because that's where oftentimes he has the ball. So, front three, a little bit of a makeshift front three. I will say not a big fan of putting Havertz out wide again, because we've done that before, and I just don't think it works very well. I think he's better when he's central. But as far as Havertz is concerned, he had a few moments where you could see he's still getting up to full fitness. You could see he's still coming back from that sickness. It wasn't great from him today, but it was better than the game against Leeds. I don't know. It's such an up and down for him right now. Like, he has some great moments where his passing looks solid. He looks calm on the ball. He's moving the ball around well. But then he also has some moments where you feel like he should take a better touch. With as good as he is, he shouldn't be taking a touch that takes him, 6 feet away and allows the keeper to slide and make the save. So, I don't know. It's just, I want him to keep improving. I'm not at all saying like, oh, he's just not good enough. Like, we know he's going to be good enough. We know he's got the talent. It's just still returning from getting infected with COVID. You can see that it affected him a bit. So I hope that he can bounce back from that, and I hope he can get back to where he was before he got sick, because he looked really solid. And Joran, I thought probably our second best player in the first half behind Gilmore. He looked ready to play. He looked like he wanted to get on the ball, and he had a little bit of a shaky start. He didn't really do much in the first opening 10 minutes, but as he grew into it, started moving the ball around well, very clever, quick little flicks, and just looked to be our best attacking option in all honesty, which is kind of funny to say that our two teenagers were the best players in the first half, but honestly, like, he looked like he wanted to be on the ball, and he looked like he wanted to make things happen. And for the most part, he did. We didn't get a whole lot of chances from it, but it was our best run of play is whenever he was on the ball and he was looking to connect play. So, yeah, in my opinion, he's definitely got a future. He's still got a little bit of ways to go, because you can tell there were still some moments where you could tell his naivete from being younger. There were moments where, I don't know, the idea wasn't quite there. The run was being made and he didn't see it, or the pass that he made was a good one, but there was a slightly better one that would have opened up the play a bit more. But overall, considering it's his first game for the first team this season, and also the fact that, it's Champions League and you're starting in the Champions League, I thought it was a good performance from him in that sense. But I can also see where he's still got room to improve, and honestly, I'm excited to see what comes from him, because hey, he looked pretty good considering all of those factors. Finally, Abraham, in my opinion, probably had the hardest job today, because he's already a striker who's kind of struggling for form at the moment. He's not really finding the end of crosses. He's not really putting the ball away like he should, with the talent that he has. So he's a striker who's under a bit of a bad run of form, lacking maybe a bit of confidence, and now Lampard sticks him up top young player, and then a player who's coming back from being sick and who's still not quite up to form, and he's playing out of position. I felt bad for Abraham. I don't think that's a good position to put your young striker who's under a lot of pressure right now. I don't think that's a good position to put him in. Because, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I think Werner would have been in the same boat, because he's also a striker who's struggling for form. I don't necessarily say you play Giroud here either, because I do think you need to give Abraham some time. But I don't know. I did feel bad for Abraham because he was up against it tonight. I mean, just that's a very difficult situation to be in. To have to play with basically, I mean, you've got no help behind you almost. Not saying no help, but it's two players who not necessarily. I mean, one that hasn't played for us at all yet this season, and the one who's struggling for form as well. It's just not a good combination. And you could say, well, it's against a weaker team, so maybe that means they do play well and they do get that form because they got to play well against this lower team. But I don't know. I mean, we know Krasnodar is going to be a tough side to play against. We know that there are no pushovers. So, I don't know. I felt like that I wouldn't have played Havertz, in my opinion. Like, I wouldn't have started Havertz as well as Andjorin. Either play Havertz and Pulisic or play Andjorin and Pulisic. But to do both of them, I mean, that's a tough front three to get all accustomed together. So anyways, with that being said, from what I saw from Abraham, it was okay. I still think he's struggling. I still think you can tell that there's that bit of inconsistency in his play because there were some moments where he looked pretty good. On the ball, he looked clever, kind of what I've come to expect from him, very quick with his feet. But there were also moments where you can tell just that lack of confidence, instead of taking a touch and maybe having a shot, or instead of putting himself in a position where he can make a run onto a cross or something. It's just, he's kind of there. He's kind of waiting for the play to come to him. And in my opinion, that's the one thing that he's got to work on a bit more overall. Even aside from the bad run of form and the lack of confidence, is just making the play happen instead of waiting for the play to come to him. Because there were several moments where I just felt like, make that run, or put that defender under pressure. If you do that, then maybe the chance falls to you. Because there are a couple times when he does do that, but he doesn't do it enough. And just doing it a few times throughout the game and creating that one opportunity, where he wins it back because he put the defender under pressure, and then boom, there's your chance, and the keeper makes a good save. That's not quite enough. Like Giroud, every single time ball comes into the box, if it's in his vicinity, if they put it toward him, the defender's not going to have a free clearance header because Giroud's going to be putting a challenge in on him, or he's going to be at least in the way so the defender knows he's there. Whereas with Abraham, most of the time, if it's not to him, then the defender gets an easy clearance header and it's whatever. But I think the best example is going back to the Leeds game where Chilwell makes the cross in and it's right to a defender, but Giroud is behind him. Even though it's right to a defender, it's not at Giroud. Guess what? Giroud steps in, he makes the defender mishit it, and now it comes to one of our players. With Abraham, that same cross comes in, defender under no pressure, and just whacks it away. So, got a little tickle in my throat right now. Hang on. There we go. So I don't know. Again, there's that bit of desire to want the ball, even when it's not coming right to you. You still go to it and you make something happen. That little bit needs to get added to his play, and I feel like if he starts to do that, I think his form will step up with that. Because sometimes the bad run of form is just a bad run of form, and I think with Werner that's much more apparent. I think he's just having a bad run of form where his shots aren't connecting, and he's a little bit of bad luck with some of his attempts. But with Abraham, I feel like it's a bit of both. I feel like he's in a bad run of form, things aren't really working out for him, but also sometimes you got to make your own luck too. Sometimes you have to put yourself in a position to make things happen, and he's got to learn that, or else he'll just stay in this little rut that he's stuck in. But anyways, as far as the subs that came on, I mean, most of them came on pretty late into the game, so didn't have a whole lot to do. But I mean, Conte came out and he pretty much does what he always does. He's very quick. He's very, very energetic. Always wants to be on the ball, whether he's tackling or whether he's making passes. But honestly, I think in this further forward role, the one thing that he does provide is that ability to, I guess, turn out of pressure quickly. Because Kovacic, whenever he does it, it's kind of he turns out of pressure and he dribbles. With Conte, he turns out and then passes off. So it's almost like with Conte, it's a little bit quicker turn out of pressure because Kovacic has to get up to pace and then he's gone. Conte just pass and then we're gone. So I don't know. It's a little different, but he tends to be kind of a focal point whenever he's further up the field because he is in a good position and he's typically pretty good at keeping possession as well. Who else came on at that point? Werner came on for Havertz, which, I was surprised it wasn't Enjorin, but hey, give Timo a chance to play and give Enjorin more time. We'll see what he does. But Timo came on and did okay. He had a few good moments, but also I felt like had a couple moments where he was a little bit naive with his play. Maybe instead of trying to work the ball out of pressure, he tries to turn and just beat him with pace. And I don't know, there were too many players that I thought had as much pace as he does out there today. So it just felt like it wasn't a great decision from him at times. And then Giroud came on for Enjorin and put us with our three strikers up top. And, he didn't have a whole lot of time to do much, but did okay as well. That's the thing. Like, nobody played fantastic coming off the bench. They all did okay. They all just were out there for the time being. And I think that was it as far as the subs. I'm pretty sure. That's the thing. Like, that was the other thing that was kind of frustrating. Is like we had two more subs to make. Like one more subbing option, but two more subs to make overall. So like, why not get Mount out there? Why not get Pulisic out there? It is what it is. But overall, I mean, again, not disappointed with the draw. More just disappointed with the fact that there were a couple players that should have done a bit more that didn't. And then also frustrating that the referee was so bad at times. But hey, I mean, finished top of the group going into the round of 16. That's a good result, I guess. It's a good thing to have going for us, especially because we're on such a good unbeaten streak. We're playing well. This is mostly our B team that are out to play, plus a couple youngsters. So, it's not a terrible result overall. I think just overall, the performance will be a little bit of a frustration just because there were moments when it felt like we could have capitalized on some of the play that we had, and we just didn't. So anyways, I realized there were a couple times I started rambling a bit. I apologize, but I don't know, I just kind of had thoughts rustling around in my head. I needed to get them out. So anyways, with that being said, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this game? Let me know what we can talk about and discuss, all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews. I'll see you guys at the next one. Peace out.